Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order, this meeting of the Daviess County Fiscal Court. Tonight is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. Commissioner Marksberry, if you would lead us with the opening prayer and the pledge, please.
Would you stand with me, please? Heavenly Father, as we come into your presence, Lord, please still our hearts and minds from the troubles of this world. We praise you, Father, for the gift of our children and the young people in this community. We pray your hedge of protection around them and the parents and the teachers who guide them. Protect them as they head back to school. And we thank you, Lord, for the blessing of the break in the heat that we've been experiencing this summer. We thank you for this day. And please give us your wisdom and courage to do what is right, and not our will, but your will be done. In Jesus' name, amen. And the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner. And we've got a full house, so if anybody wants to scoot in a little bit and let some of the standing room only folks have a seat, that probably would be appreciated. First item, Brooke.
1, consideration for presentation. A, Treasurer's Report for July of 2025.
Mr. Johnson.
As of July 31, 2025, the total cash balance is $78,529,282.68. General fund balance is $42,799,284.82. Minus operating reserve and restricted funds, cash for general fund operations is $32,512,984.57. The opioid abatement settlement fund is now set up and being properly reflected on the financial reports. The general fund balance is higher than anticipated due to the receipt of approximately $3.56 million in insurance reimbursements to cover damages from the March 2025 hail event. This is non-operating cash that will be and has already in part been expensed for repairs and replacements throughout the county in light of the event. All fund transfers from the general fund have been completed, loading the other operating and debt service funds for the year. I have nothing else to report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And just for those in the audience, this is strictly for presentation, so we don't vote on this. And this is available in your office if anyone wishes to inspect it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
2, consideration for approval. A, minutes of August 7, 2025, Daviess County Fiscal Court meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. We've all had the minutes for several days to review. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
B, all claims for all departments.
Motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion and a second. These are all the bills due and payable by Daviess County Fiscal Court. Are there any questions for our treasurer? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
C, second reading of KOC A.109, 07-2025, an ordinance relating to the adoption of the 2025 Daviess County tax rates.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson.
The fiscal court is proposing to adopt the compensating tax rate and leave all other ad valorem rates the same, which results in a decrease from 2024's real property tax rate. The proposed rates are real property at 12.2 cents per $100 of assessed value, tangible personal property at 13.8 cents per $100 of assessed value, and motor vehicles and watercraft at 17 cents per $100 of assessed value. All other classifications listed in the ordinance are either derived from those read into the record or set by the state. This is the second reading and adoption.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments by the court? I just want to say thank you for your work on setting our budget, which helps us to operate under these rates. And for those in the public, this is, I believe I'm right, the biggest tax cut that we've going back 25 years that we can substantiate, and we believe it might be the biggest tax cut in 50 years. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
D, resolution establishing 2025 tax rates for Green River District Health Department.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson?
Per KRS 212.755, Section 3, Fiscal Court must approve any proposed special ad valorem public health tax rates in order for those rates to be levied. This is accomplished by the Daviess County Board of Health, which is the Daviess County Public Health Taxing District, submitting a resolution to the court with their desired rates per the statute. The resolution requests that their tax rate be kept at 4 cents per $100 of assessed value for real property, personal property, and motor vehicles. In 2017, the rate was taken from 3.5 cents to 4 cents and has remained at 4 cents per $100 of assessed value to date. I see no particular issues with their rate remaining the same.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments from the board? I failed to ask on the last item. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
E, 2026 grant agreement for the litter abatement program.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Johnson?
This is the litter abatement program grant funding that will offset our litter abatement expenses with our contracted vendor. This funding must be used for direct expenses as defined in 401 KAR 49080 Section 3, incurred during calendar year 2026 that are associated with anti-litter control programs for litter cleanup on public roads as provided in KRS 224.43505 and to meet requirements established in KRS 224.43345. The amount of grant funding that we are eligible to receive will not be determined until after November 3rd of 25. This is an annual exercise, and I see no issues.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments from the court?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
F, resolution number 15-2025, agreement regarding rural secondary flex program funds.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Duper?
Good evening, Judge. This is an annual agreement which we have with KYTC in which they will reimburse this year up to $448,000, and the roads that are chosen are Masonville Habit, Miller's Mill, and West Fifth Street Road. It's fully 100% reimbursed by KYTC. I recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Duper. Any questions or comments from the court?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
G, award bid number 2526-06, transfer station CD&D concrete pad.
Motion to approve.
Second. Ms. Sturgeon?
Yes, Judge, we received 3 bids and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by KM Construction Services, LLC, in the total amount of $778,000 for the construction of the concrete pad to be used for construction and demolition debris at the Grimes Avenue Transfer Station. KM Construction, LLC is a known vendor. There were no exceptions to our specification, and I recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions or comments from the court?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? I just want to say on this, I know all our folks in the home building business will appreciate when this is done. We've struggled, the volume of CD&D that we've dealt with since the hailstorm has been, I believe, 3 times what we, not just the CD&D, the total volume that we've dealt with has been 3 times what our normal is. And so our sanitation folks have worked their tails off. And anyway, this is should be done by the end of the year. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
H, award bid number 2526-09, Operations Center Roof Replacement Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Ms. Sturgeon?
Yes, we received 3 bids and recommend award to the lowest and best evaluated bid submitted by Paramount Roofing in the total amount of $134,900 for the replacement of the roof at the Administration Building, Animal Shelter, and 2 sheds at the Daviess County Operations Center. This is a resultant bid due to hail damage from the March 15th hailstorm. The cost of the replacement will be offset by insurance reimbursement. There were no exceptions to the specification, and I would recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions or comments from the court? Any questions or comments from the public? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
I, award SMA number 2526-14, Griffith Station Road Guardrail Replacement Project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second, Ms. Sturgeon?
We received 1 quote and recommend award to the only responsive quote submitted by EFI for the provision and installation of guardrail on Griffith Station Road for the Daviess County Road Department in the amount of $31,409.50. This is the resultant quote from damage due to the April 25 flooding event. It is worth noting that this is the sole vendor that provides in the state master agreement for this service. There were no exceptions to the specification, and I would recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions or comments from the public? Excuse me, from the court?
No.
Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
J, award RFQ number 2526-15, shooting clay targets.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second, Ms. Sturgeon?
Yes, Judge, we received 3 quotes and recommend award to the best evaluated quote submitted by Indian Creek Shooting Center for shooting clays for the Mattingly Target Shooting Range in the amount of $24,480.85. This is a budgeted restock of targets to be used for the remainder of the 2025 and the beginning of the 2026 seasons. Indian Creek Shooting Center is a known vendor, and there were no exceptions to the specifications. I would recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sturgeon. Any questions from the court? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
K, reappoint Rebecca Horn to the Owensboro-Davis County Steering Committee for a drug and alcohol addiction-free community.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You want to finish reading it,
Oh,
Brett?
I'm sorry.
It's a joint appointment, and it's effective September 1st of 2025 through August 31st of 2028.
Sorry, Brooke, I thought you were finished. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Want to thank Ms. Horn for her willingness to serve our community in this capacity. As Brooke said, it's a joint appointment. The mayor has agreed with this appointment. Anyone else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
L, appoint Brooke Arnold to the Owensboro-Davis County Steering Committee for a drug and alcohol addiction-free community, a joint appointment, effective September 1 of 2025 through August 31st of 2028.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second. I want to thank Ms. Debbie Zerner for she served 5 terms on this committee, I think pretty much from the very beginning.
You did.
And she is very passionate about this issue and its impact on our community. Just want to thank her. I also want to thank Brooke for her willingness to serve, Ms. Arnold, I should say. Anyone else? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
M, reappoint Kathy Mattis to the Davis County Library Board, effective September 14th of 2025 through September 13th of 2029.
Motion to approve.
Second. Anyone from the court wish to speak to this issue? Anyone from the public wish to speak to this issue? I will allow, if there's, excuse me, Commissioner Condon.
My comment or public, which one? Do you-
I asked for the court first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Judge. More than anything, one of our greatest rights that we have is the First Amendment. First Amendment is one we hold sacred within this nation for so many reasons. Yet that right is not necessarily absolute. And I'm going to quote to you each and every one for just information purposes that from the Open Meetings Act, which was submitted and revised by Attorney General Daniel Cameron, September 2023. And it states the follows. Although the public has the right to attend public meetings, the Open Meetings Act does not require a public agency to permit public comments or public participation during the meeting. That is per Daniel Cameron, per the former Attorney General. What that means is that the chair of the library board could, if necessary, if wanted to, stop any public comment, no matter what the case may be. And with the rhetoric that we continue to hear that goes on at the library board, it is probably a 2-hour meeting where only 20 or 30 minutes is the business and the rest is public comment that continues to happen. Maybe some of that needs to be addressed and thought about, because it is not who we are to continue to yell at each other across the aisle like that. Even though, yes, we're wanting to protect children, I get that. We don't need to act like them, is what we don't need to do. Now, let's also then go look at this appointment. This appointment was, according to the letter that we received, or Judge Caslen received, I'm sorry, I apologize. The Kentucky Library,
KDLA.
thank you, KDLA, did recommend Kathy Mattis and another individual. The judge executive has chosen to put Kathy on here, and with that recommendation, it is very hard for us to be hypocritical and state we want to go by what KDLFA says and not take their recommendation. That is a very strong indication, regardless of the reason of why they do that. So I want to make sure that everyone understands that this is important to our community, but yet we can do better. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Marksberry.
Thank you, Judge. I just want to say I don't believe it's rhetoric when people want to come and share their thoughts and their hearts and minds, and this is for both sides. And I welcome public comment, and I don't think we need to do away with it. I think it's very important for our freedoms. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cass, anything?
Thanks, Judge. I just want to say it looks like that this appointment's really caused a lot of division amongst the community, and I hope that the future ones that we have people that the community can support as a whole instead of it creating division. And I do appreciate Ms. Mattis stepping up and doing this, not against her, but I'm just hopeful that our future appointments are something that we can all support.
I understand. Thank you. I'm going to allow one person that might be for and one person that might be opposed to speak. You raise your hand first. I don't know which side you're on, but go ahead. You have to introduce yourself. Just name and address for the record, please.
Dr. Catherine Schmidt, 1430 Hunting Creek Drive, Owensboro, Kentucky. My comment is whoever is appointed to any board needs to work together with the board for a general public consensus, not individual needs. And my concern is that Kathy has very personal needs. She is not interested in the overall well-being and education of the entire public in Owensboro and Daviess County.
Are you for or are you against? I'm opposed. All right, you may speak. This will be the last comment on this.
Robert Morris, 727 Maple Avenue. It's funny that you mentioned First Amendment. What brought me to pay attention to this issue is when Commissioner Marksberry's First Amendment was taken away from her, when the microphone was taken from her hand, and it was quite a hostile environment. But first off, Judge, thanks for acknowledging us. I always appreciate you letting people talk and give their opinions. But I heard that there was some silliness or what have you going on, public comment, bickering back and forth. I think we need to have a better environment for these meetings. The little small area that they do it, the only one I was at, was everybody was in the hallway and nobody knew what was going on. There was a lot of chaos and confusion. So when these meetings do happen, regardless of public comment or not, people need to be able to sit down and listen and take in what's going on. Were any of y'all at the meeting yesterday? You're still the liaison to that. Yeah, and but there's not enough room. We need to have a more comfortable environment to have those meetings. So also, I want to hit on the issue in regards, the lady that's being nominated, I think she's fine. I think everybody, they should all, Dr. Schmidt, you delivered my children, and I think you guys all could get along, and the library's not a place for that. But I do, and I'm an old sailor, so I don't blush very hard. But have any of y'all read the Bare Naked book? It's in the children's section, the safe space. We don't want to ban books. I mean, that's proven to not work. But this book needs to be relocated, and if I can approach and give you guys this that you can look at, I'd like, if you haven't read it.
You can when you're through with your comments.
I'm not asking to ban the book. It just doesn't belong in the children's section. And if any parent wants to check it out and read it to their children, that's fine. But there's one section on belly buttons. Well, belly buttons, innie and outies, that's what I've always known. But the one page on the belly button thing is just ridiculous, and a child shouldn't be looking at that. But my main point is that we need a better, more comfortable place to have the meetings where everyone can sit down and have good discussions. Because when you're out in the hallway, you just, and people are talking loud and they're disrespectful, and there needs to be room for people, and it's going to be a lot more people and a lot more room, because the library, for whatever reason, the only reason I've taken interest in it was when I saw Commissioner Marksberry had the microphone taken from her hand, and I thought, that's not right. And so anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And could I approach y'all? Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Nick. First, I'd like to do a roll call. I'd like to do this with a roll call, please.
Judge Executive Charlie Caslin.
Yes.
Commissioner Larry Conder.
Yes.
Commissioner Janie Marksberry.
Yes.
Commissioner Chris Caslin.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, Brooke.
N, reclassify Colton Lanham as crew leader effective August 31st of 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Want to congratulate Colton on his promotion. I want to thank him for his years of service to our community. Anyone else have anything to say?
Yes, Judge. Congratulations to Colton, and for him being able to move up through the ranks like he's doing.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
O, reclassify Jared Mattingly to truck driver 3 effective August 31st of 2025.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second. I want to thank Jared for his continued service to our community. Any other comments?
I would, Judge. Yes, thanks, Jared, for all he's done as well. And you talk about the people that have taken a lot of the load of the CD&D and the transfer station, and he's one of them that it's been hit square with that, and he still drives on like he does. And thank you, Jared, for all you do.
Amen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
P, hire Luke Eason as firefighter effective successful completion of pre-employment screenings.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Want to congratulate Luke on his hire. And is he here? Or? Thank you, sir, for your willingness to serve our community. Anyone else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Q, hire Chandler Friels as firefighter effective upon successful completion of pre-employment screenings.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and second. Again, want to congratulate Chandler on your hire. Or is he here or no?
There he is.
Thank you, sir, for your willingness to serve our community. Commissioner Conder.
Just a little comment. I'm not even sure if he has a driver's license. I mean, look how young that guy is. This is awesome just to see that.
There's something about birthdays.
Well, you know.
It makes more and more people look like that to us.
He does.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
R, hire Carson Montgomery as firefighter effective upon successful completion of pre-employment screenings.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. I want to congratulate Carson on his hire. Are you here? Congratulations, sir, and thank you for your willingness to serve our community. Commissioner Condor, anything else?
No, just to recognize all of the firefighters that are here, please, Judge.
Yes.
You know,
Give
they
them a round.
show up. I mean, they show up. And they're willing to stick around and listen to everything else that we say until the end. So thank you for hanging in there with us, okay?
Yes, sir. Do y'all, let's keep going.
3, consideration for discussion. A, first reading of KOC 921-.687, 08-2025, an ordinance amending a zoning classification set forth in the county zoning ordinance of February 5th, 2004 regarding 1651 Parish Plaza Drive.
Counselor, I'm going to let you do this one if you would. So,
Yeah, I'll turn this one on. So this is an opportunity for everyone to speak who was present at the meeting.
correct.
And I will read the ordinance if you like.
If you would, please.
I'm not going to read it in full. I will read the provisions of the ordinance. The Owensboro Metropolitan Planning and Zoning Commission met in regular session in Owensboro, Kentucky on July 10, 2025 to consider the application filed by Warbuck Development Company, 5BS LLC, for a zoning classification amendment from a B4 general business to an R3 RMF multifamily residential for a 6.103 acre tract at 1651 Parish Plaza Drive. After hearing evidence, the Commission made findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommended approval of the zoning classification to R3 MF multifamily residential, and the transcript of that proceeding is attached to this. At the time allowed within the law, there were 4 aggrieved parties who each filed requests with the planning office for fiscal court to hear the rezoning. The official transcript of the proceedings at the meetings includes the evidence presented, the findings, conclusions, and recommendations of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, which have been filed and considered by fiscal court. So fiscal court ordains that Section 1, the proceedings before the July 10, 2025 meeting of the Owensboro Metropolitan Planning Commission relating to a zoning change described in Exhibit A, including the findings, recommendations of the Planning Commission, are confirmed and approved, and the zoning classification of the subject property, which is described in the attachment and is incorporated by reference as if it was fully written, is amended and changed so that the property will be zoned as R3 MF multifamily, subject to the following findings and conditions. The first condition is that approval of a final development plan. And then the other findings are that the proposal complies with the community's adopted comprehensive plan. The property is partially located in a business plan area where, urban mid-density residential uses are appropriate in limited locations, and partially located in an urban residential plan where urban mid-density uses are appropriate in limited locations. The proposed use, a multifamily development, conforms to the criteria for urban residential development. Existing sanitary sewer systems are available to the subject property, and the proposed R3 MF multifamily residential zoning is a logical expansion of an R3 MF zoning to the east and west. At 44 units, the proposed multifamily development should not overburden the capacity of roadways and other necessary urban services available within the effective area. The ordinance becomes effective upon passage and publication. This is the first reading, Judge, so all we're doing is reading it.
Thank you. And before I go on with this, Brooke told me when Commissioner Condor made his comments and we applauded, I failed to ask for a vote on,
Chandler Frill.
thank you, on to hire Carson Montgomery. So my apologies to you, Carson, for that. All those in favor of hiring Carson Montgomery as a firefighter, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right.
Sorry about that,
Sufficient.
Carson.
That's all right. Thank you for my staff who pointed that out to us. So, first of all, to those who appealed, always when we have an appeal, and for those who don't know, in the old days, the city commission and the fiscal court would hear every planning and zoning, rezoning that came before the planning commission. And to expedite things, changes were made, and now the governing bodies only hear appeals when an appeal is filed. We don't vote on it becomes, if an appeal is not filed, that becomes law, Claude, within about 30 days. And so appeals were filed. Our initial reading of the ordinance is always written to sustain, to uphold what planning commission did. Just so you know, those who filed an appeal, that doesn't mean that a decision's been made. That's just our norm, is to always write the ordinance as in the affirmative. Also, and Claude, you might have to help me here. Our job tonight is not to have a new hearing. Our job tonight is to review the record, what was said at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and the documents that the staff presented, and then any clarifying questions that the four of us may have. Only people that will be allowed to speak are people who spoke at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I've got their names. So when you identify yourself, if you have something to say and you need to state your name and address for the record. And I've got a list of names from. We've all taken time to read the transcripts, and also we were made, the planning and zoning made a link available to the meeting to where we could watch the meeting along with reading the transcript. So I know I've done that. I suspect that 3 commissioners have done that as well. Do any of the commissioners have any questions that they want to start out with, or I'll
just make a comment.
Go ahead,
I actually was at that meeting. I just happened to stop in that night and was at the meeting. And so what we're voting on tonight is we're voting on...
We will not be voting
I don't mean
tonight.
voting, I'm sorry, I misspoke. What we are talking about tonight is they're changing the zoning from B4, which is commercial zoning, to residential zoning. It's high-density residential, so it will be apartment buildings. And I think we have someone here from planning and zoning. I would just like to ask you, is it fairly common to go, if you want to come up, to go down from a commercial zone to a residential zone, or is it typically the other way that they try to, switch from either vacant land, agricultural, to a business zone?
I don't think there, well, without having any data in front of me, I don't know if there's a precedence one way or the other. I think it's more the character of that general area.
Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. Trey Pedley, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My apologies for...
No, you're fine. But yeah, I don't know if there's a precedence one way or the other statistically. I think it's more so the character of the area, and does it check the boxes within the comprehensive plan. Basically, the comprehensive plan has a land use map, and within there's criteria for each zone, depending on which plan area you're in. And if you check the boxes, then we as a staff generally recommend it for approval. If you don't, then it's harder for us to recommend it for approval in those situations. So to answer your question, I think it's more location dependent than it is up or down.
Okay. And this land is contiguous to other multifamily
Yes,
properties,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
which makes it pretty much a slam dunk when it comes to your recommendations typically.
The logical expansion is a big portion of the criteria. It's not the only item that it would have to hit, but it is a big one. It is a logical expansion on 2 sides.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Condor.
Mr. Pedley,
Mr. Pedley.
just hang on. Curious question also, though, what we're reviewing and actually analyzing is what the commission has recommended and whether or not that applies. The use of that property, though, is not up to this decision. Is that correct?
That's right. When we as a staff look at a rezoning, we make a recommendation based off whether or not is the zone appropriate at this location. And that's what the Planning Commission then makes their recommendation to you all based off the same logic. Is the zone appropriate at that location, not any in particular use?
So just curious, the city of Owensboro recently, I believe, passed a resolution that was placing in a one-year moratorium on group facilities, as I'm not for sure exactly what that was. If this project was in the city, would that moratorium affect this decision tonight? Just curious.
Well, so I don't want to speak, I don't know the ins and outs of their operation completely. Based on how we understand what's happening, and I'm sure the applicant can better describe their operation, we're under the impression that this is housing post-recovery. It's not a recovery home or a group home. And in that situation, from what we know at this point in time, it's not an item that would require a conditional use permit. It's standard typical multifamily development to the best of our knowledge.
So it's a substantial difference of what they're proposing versus what is being proposed tonight, correct?
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Castle. When I went through, if you would, and maybe this is and I know we're not approving a development plan, but one of the questions that I was curious about as I watched the meeting and I looked at the plat of this particular property, this is a long, narrow property, and it actually doesn't. I'll just say. The homes that I've owned, that my home fronted the street and went back to my back door neighbors, and then theirs went from my back door property line all the way to the street, the next street over. And I noticed these properties, it looks like all these apartment units, I think this is Thompson Drive and also Parish Plaza. I'm not sure, I believe that's right. But it's like a long, narrow swath down the middle of the block. And I'm just curious how that might be laid out. I don't know, have y'all discussed that or have y'all not gotten that far yet?
There's not been a development plan submitted to our office. I believe the applicant is here and they may be able to address that better than I can.
Okay. If there's someone from the applicant wishes to speak to that, I'd be interested in hearing that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Pedley.
Commissioner.
If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name's Cody Duvall, 100 Walbuck Drive, Litchfield, Kentucky, 42754. I am legal counsel for the consultant Walbuck Development and for the developer Center for Addiction Recovery of Henderson. I think the question was about how the property is laid out. It's my understanding they did not request a variance for any setbacks. So I believe the intention is for the project to comply with all the current setback requirements here in Daviess County.
Okay.
And the consultant Walbuck Development has done numerous projects in this area over the last 20 years or so. So I know they're aware of what you all typically require.
Okay.
And to the question about the group housing, my understanding, the city of Owensboro hasn't finally passed that resolution until September 2nd. But to be clear, this project is not considered a group housing or transitional housing anytime. I pause. I don't know how they're defining transitional housing for the city of Owensboro, but the definition from HUD consists of housing from somewhere from 1 month to 24 months with the intention of moving the people out within that 24-month period. That's not the intention of this project at all.
Okay.
Thank you for that clarification. That was awesome.
Sure.
With regard to lost my train of thought. I'm gonna go on. One of the speakers was Ms. Higdon. Are you here or no?
I'm just going to step over there in case
Okay,
I
yes.
asked again.
She's not? Okay. I'll ask you, Trey, since you were at the meeting, or you represent staff of planning and zoning. She made a specific comment saying, that she was concerned about this impacting her property, yeah, here it is. The value of my property, she was concerned about the future value of her property with having this development there. And did she submit any documents, from experts or anything? That
No,
would
sir, not,
support
at
that?
least not that I'm aware of.
Okay, all right, thank you. I don't have any other questions right now. Are there anyone that spoke? I'm gonna just go down the list here. There was a Wabach Development's already spoke. Ms. Higdon and a Mr. Higdon both spoke. Either of you here or no? Okay. Mr. Klump? Yes. If you would like to share anything, again, state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jamie Klump. My wife and I own Starview Properties, which owns 16 units adjacent to this property, and another 20 units across the street on Thompson Drive. And we're just opposed to this. Just, again, we're concerned about property values. We're concerned about the safety of our tenants. I've already had a tenant approach me about moving to another one of our properties because they heard this property, what's going on with this property, or potentially going on with this property. She said she has always felt safe living there, but she says if this goes in right next door, she's going to be very concerned. So, I mean, they say this is not transitional group housing, but that's really what it sounds like. These, the people that are living here, at least the 80%, they've got to have 80% occupancy of people recovering from addictions, and they are subject to drug testing. So to me, this sounds like a group transition situation. And they mentioned this is the only opportunity that there will be, apparently, because I've talked with planning and zoning and staff, and they've indicated it may or may not require a conditional use permit. So zoning may be the only opportunity for this program to be stopped. So that's my concern. If we approve this, it may not ever be looked at again. If it does go on, I would like, and I don't know if there's going to be a requirement, put some type of fence, a perimeter fence around this property, because we're right in the middle of that property and Kroger, and the developments around Kroger are on the opposite side. And and I suspect most of these folks are not going to be driving, so they're going to be doing a lot of walking, and it's going to be natural for these folks to want to cut through our property to get to Kroger and the surrounding businesses over there. So at a minimum, I think they should have to install a perimeter fence. Obviously I'm opposed to it. I feel like this is a group housing on steroids. I mean, instead of having three or four tenants, it's going to be 30 or 40. So anyhow, that's my concerns. I would respectfully ask that this be denied.
Thank you, Mr. Klump. Mr. Connor?
My name is Roger Connor, 914 State Route 1207, Utica. My son and I, Clinton Connor, both own all of Parish Plaza Drive properties, commonly known as Oney's Apartments. Have 110 units there. We've worked our tails off over the years to put in a very high-end group of rental property. We have a lot of elderly people. We have a lot of young babies, students. We just came by there this afternoon, people out walking their dogs. I may be a little long-winded, but bear with me. We've all got choices that we make every single day. Moonlight, Old Hickory, Coke, Pepsi, sweet or unsweet tea, to do drugs or not to do drugs, to buy a house or to rent. Your choice tonight will affect 226 families. It's been argued by me that addiction is a condition, not a disease. The opposition will tell you it's a disease. One of the things that they specified at the other presentation with planning and zoning was that they want to have a preference, the word preference was used, to rent to 80% of the total number of units they plan on building to people that are in addiction recovery or have graduated from a recovery program. I looked it up about that, and if you'll bear with me, I asked Google, I said, can a landlord have a preference to rent to a certain subsect of people? The answer is no. In Kentucky, a landlord cannot express a preference for renting to addicts because addiction is considered a disability under the Fair Housing Act. Both the Fair Housing Act at the federal level and Kentucky's fair housing laws prohibit discrimination based on disability. If they want to put 80% in there as a preference, in my opinion, they're violating fair housing laws up front on the face of it. And then they said the other 20% would be rented to normal people. I don't think you're going to find 20% of the normal people want to live with 80% of the addicts in the area. It just doesn't make sense. I have some personal, I'm not sure of the word. I have a niece named Tina. Tina's in her mid-40s, probably close to 50. She's had 4 illegitimate babies. She's been a meth head her entire life, her adult life. 2 of her children passed away. One very suspectfully, or under suspect, the state of Missouri took her children away from her. She's had 3 incarcerations in the state prison system in Missouri. Her brain is fried. Her brain is absolutely fried. She destroyed my brother, her father. It caused him to go into an early grave. He spent all of his money trying to help her. Meth alters the brain. It fries the brain. I talked to Keith Kane years ago, and he said the drug of choice at the time was marijuana. He said that's nothing now. It's all meth. If you look at the police reports, it's meth, meth, meth. We have so many elderly retirees that rent from us. Some of them are widows. The younger people have children. We're trying to provide a home-like environment for those people. You can drive down through there, and there's kids playing in kiddie pools, people who put swings in their front yard, and these proposals will definitely devalue our property. The presentation made by the opposition to this acted like the people that are going to be renting there walking around in tuxedos quoting scripture. I'm sorry, that's not the way recovering addicts operate. This is not the highest and best use of this property. I studied real estate in college. I'm probably one of the few people in town that studied everything I could at Western concerning real estate. One of the things that I studied was that the planning and zoning boards should consider the highest and best use of a piece of property. The highest and best use. This is not that. Would you put this recovery center on the south end of Fiddlesticks on J.R. Miller Boulevard? I think the pushback would be overwhelming. Would you put it in Brook Hill? Would you put it in Stone Creek or Copper Creek? Would you put it in Thoroughbred East or Lake Forest or in that area? Would you vote to put it in your neighborhood? The city just put the moratorium on, or is about to put the moratorium on the way it reads, because of backlash from their citizens. I have a friend named Donnie Sumner. Donnie Sumner played with the Stamps Quartet. He lived with Elvis Presley the last 8 years of Elvis's life. Donnie was hooked on cocaine. Donnie told me that he said it's like living with a rattlesnake every single day, praying to God it doesn't bite you again. Please don't vote to put this in our residential neighborhood. There's other places. I have found other places that are, to me, they're the best locations. One is next to the Iron Jungle. There's a big lot for sale there. There's a huge lot for sale right in front of Champion Ford backing up to Lowe's. There's a lot behind Fiddlesticks, but like I said, I think you'd catch a lot of grief over that one. What about the Colonel House? The city bought that, and they can't even find somebody to renovate it. That would be a perfect place. Those are all non-residential areas where you wouldn't have the pushback that we're having from our tenants. Another one is the old hospital property. It's sitting vacant. It ought to please planning and zoning. It's already fenced and got shrubs all around it. And it's of no use to anybody right now because the new hospital's gone out the other end. I urge you tonight to consider everything I've said. We're trying to protect our tenants. We've had tenants tell us they're interested in moving if this goes through. That's not the way a facility or a proposal should happen. We are not opposed to more apartments going in that area. As long as they're apartments that are based on the free enterprise system, open to the public, like ours are, we don't discriminate against anybody. We've rented to Mexicans, blacks, whites, Chinese, you name it, we've had it. I tell them all the time, I said, here's our criteria, that you have 4 times your rent for an income, and you don't bother your neighbors. And we have a tremendous following right now. We have people on a waiting list dying to move in. Call us all the time. You know, please call us when you have something available, because I don't know if you've driven down and seen our project or not, but to me, it's one of the best ones in town, and we've worked hard to accumulate that reputation. So I urge you tonight, and one other thing, Judge, you told me that anyone that sent an email that I could speak for them at the planning and zoning can speak. Well, I have 2 more people here, my son and Wayne Baker.
Okay.
And
I've got them next.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure of that.
Yes, sir.
But that concludes my presentation. I urge you to please not let this go through.
Thank you. And just for the record, there will not be a vote tonight. The vote is the next meeting, and there will be no public comment at the next meeting.
Fine, thank you.
Yes.
Judge, are we allowed to ask questions? of the-
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Connor, I have a question for you. Mr. Connor? Over here. Thank you for being here tonight. And, you mentioned, seeing that Walbuck Development has developments in Henderson and Bowling Green, and you mentioned crime rates, and you also mentioned the property values. Wondering if you happen to have any type of statistics or any other information, factual information you can give us regarding how that's affected those developments they have in Henderson or Bowling?
Not those per se, but I think we all know that anytime you have the possibility, and of course, I'm all for these people if they've recovered. I'm not against that at all. But if they slip up, the first thing they're going to do is try to find enough money to get another hit of meth or snort of cocaine, which means they could possibly break in somewhere. My niece Tina stole my brother's guns twice and pawned them, and he went and bought them back, and she stole them again. They have absolutely no regard for law and order whatsoever.
Thank you.
Mr. Connor, I just want to say you mentioned Fiddlesticks and specifically Recovery Center. I don't know if you know it, but Owensboro Regional Recovery is right across the street almost from the what would it be, the southeast corner of Fiddlesticks. It's very, very near there, and I'm sure they didn't want it there, but it is there. They're on Beach Road right inside the bypass.
Well, my concern was that it's adjoining, right next to us.
I understand. Clinton, if you're here. Again, state your name and address for the record,
Okay.
please.
Clinton Connor, 8556 Miller Murphy Road, Utica. I'm a third-generation owner-operator in Oney's Apartments in our business. I've been there for 20-plus years since I left the Daviess County Sheriff's Office. It was actually the last time I was in this room was when I was sworn in as a deputy. Through that, I had to deal with folks that had addiction problems, whether it be drugs or alcohol or other substances. I know lots of people in this room have dealt with people like that, whether it's law enforcement or firefighters, and they see the effect that it can have on people's families and their surroundings, whether it be a DUI driver or a drug-addicted driver operating. That's not the issue here tonight. The issue is that we've got 110 units there that everyone there chooses to live there. Nobody's been told that they have to live there. The day after the planning and zoning meeting, I distributed to all of our tenants a petition to stop the rezoning and asked them if they agreed with our position to please sign it and return it to my office. I received a little over half of them back, near 60, with names, addresses, and phone numbers on it. I had lots of tenants reach out to me saying, what can we do to help stop this? Please don't let this happen. They won't let us talk. We don't own the property. We just rent from you, but we rent from you because we want to be here. I've got 7 or 8 tenants here that contacted me and wanted to know when the meeting was, and they're here tonight in opposition to this. Most of them are long-term tenants, have lived there 10, 15, some more years than that. I do all I can for my tenants. I don't want to see the neighborhood go downhill. I have no issues with anyone who's had an addiction problem getting better. I hope every one of them gets better and never relapses. The unfortunate truth is that there is a recidivism rate, and a certain percentage of that 80% that they're wanting to put into this new development will relapse. And when they do, that's the concern that we have. We also have concerns, obviously, for our own well-being, for being a landlord and losing good long-term tenants or new prospective tenants in the future coming in, not wanting to live next to a development like that. As the gentleman from Planning and Zoning mentioned, or I believe maybe you had, Judge, the property in question, the 6.103 acres, lies between our units on Parish Plaza and 116 units on Thompson Drive. Directly across Parish Plaza from where I suppose the entrance to the development would be is the Daviess County Public Schools Learning Center. Directly to the south is the Greenbelt and City of Owensboro Center Court tennis facility and the Owensboro Schools new athletic facility. All of those obviously where school children are going to be. I don't think anybody in this room wants their kids playing tennis outdoors or playing ball with a facility or a housing development there that they know 80% rehabilitated drug addicts are living in. But there again, that's just my opinion. And we're not opposed to new apartments. I know there's a housing shortage. I get multiple calls a day. I'm very hands-on with our business. I'm involved in everyday, daily operations of it. I know we need more apartments. I wish somebody would build lots more. We've even considered doing that, but not to be preferential to this type of behavior in that area. Thank you to the court and everyone here, and please consider not approving this for the good of a quiet, safe area. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members of the court have a question
I have a few.
for this, for this Mr. Fowler that just
No,
spoke? If-
actually for the attorney.
Let's wait. I'm going to
That's
let
fine.
Mr. Baker, are you here? Again, state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Wayne Baker, 2855 Glencrest, Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm not going to go back and repeat everything they said, but I go right along with them. I'm just here to state that I've got 32 units on Thompson Drive, which that means I've got 32 families there that I'm concerned about. Like Clinton says, I think I've got people that's considering that they may move. I take that into consideration. I also, on the property value, I'm kind of considering that could also go down. There's just a lot of things for, I think, me and everybody else in that neighborhood to be concerned with. I'm not opposed to the project, but I think it would be much better somewhere else, in some other location. So that's basically about what I've got to say, because I think Roger and Clinton has pretty much covered it,
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Baker? The last person that spoke, I'm going to let speak is Mr. Seitz, if you would like to speak.
Thank you, Judge Kessler.
And again, if you would, state your name and address for the record.
Dale Seitz, I live at 950 Craig Drive in Henderson, Kentucky.
So I'm not going to ask any questions. I just let them free speak. So if there's any points you want to make, go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing I want to clarify, well, I'll give you just a little history. I'm in my 36th year of recovery from addiction. And consider it without question a disease. And there's no difference in my disease. Alcohol happened to be my drug of choice, whereas other mood-altering chemicals are drugs of choice of other people. But my life was out of control. I was a banker, a business person, a family guy, but made every conceivable mistake during my addiction. In 1987, through help from some wonderful people, I went to rehab and got the tools to turn my life around. And continued making a living for a long time at banking and business. However, my passion was always to help people who suffered from my disease. And I am absolutely convinced, research confirms that it is a disease, and I was one of the fortunate ones to buy in to the concept of recovery. We, 17, 18 years ago, while I was still in industry, had an opportunity to initiate the first Recovery Kentucky Center in Kentucky. Now there's 18 of us. And the results or the success has been overwhelming. We employed, as I have said before some of you, we employed the University of Kentucky Research Center year one and have continued that relationship through the current time to evaluate the success of those who went through our recovery centers. Now, in the meantime, there were 17 or 18 more around Kentucky, including Owensboro Recovery, created. And the research includes those facilities as well. In Henderson, probably 16 years ago, we created housing. There was not adequate housing for people in Henderson, not just recovering people. So we created affordable housing on our campus. And since then, those apartments have been full. And I can tell you, and this is irrefutable, there have not been any issues of concern. I do not remember having to call law enforcement. We have witnessed people who moved in those apartments, reunited with their families, which was the intent and purpose, become employed in our community in every facet of business and industry. Law offices. I got a call this morning from a person, in fact, I got a text from a person. There was a woman who graduated from the program and asked me to help her get a job, and we do that regularly. We have a department within our recovery company that helps people find employment. And I had an employer, a very significant employer, text me this morning and said, "Thank you for referring Jane," which was not her name. She is a wonderful employee. We have not had issues in those apartments since they were built in 12, 13, 14 years ago. And we actually constructed another segment of apartments. They're full, they're waiting list. And there are people that move in and reunite with their children and go about their lives. There's one story that goes to the center of my heart. There's a walking track around our facility, and I would go out there occasionally and walk that quarter-mile track for exercise, as I've done for a long time in other places. But there was a woman sitting on the sidewalk with 3 little boys. I would say they ranged in age from 4 to maybe 8. And they were drawing on the sidewalk. And the mother had gone through the program. She had obtained an apartment and is working in the community. And I just said, "Good morning, how are you?" And she said, "I am the most fortunate person in the world," with tears in her eyes. And I could tell that story over and over and over again. And if If this project is approved, I can tell you within a short time, there will be extensions of gratitude to us and our partners, the Walbuck Company, for establishing meaningful housing, because it is just, I mean, these are really good people. You can go through those apartment complexes and you can watch the kids playing on weekends. You can see picnics, and we have not had one instance in 15 or 16 years, I forget which it has been, of any issue in those apartments that would concern you or any neighbor. So it is with great pride that we offer, if you will, to construct the apartments in Owensboro. Owensboro has great recovery facilities. Owensboro Regional Recovery is doing a great job. Those people have nowhere to go because there is so much prejudice toward them by virtue of being recovering alcoholics and addicts, and they struggle. In our community, there is no issue. In fact, we built those 64 units, and now we've been approved for 48 more within the community, in strategic area, but in an area much like that of which we have applied to construct these properties. So it would be our appeal to you to consider that these are not active addict alcoholics, they're recovering people, they're good people. Once again, they have a disease, and we spent time and money and commitment to try and help them restore their lives. So this is an opportunity for them to gain appropriate permanent housing in order that they may raise their children and live their lives in a normal fashion.
Thank you, Mr. Stites. I know in some of your comments that I read, and when I watched the meeting, one point you made is that folks living in any of the units around yours, that there's probably at least some that are in active addiction.
You mean around us?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so you also make reference that you all will do drug testing, random drug testing.
We do.
So my question to you is, unless you just had a drink of alcohol, I don't know how you do a random test for alcohol, but I know if you've used marijuana or meth or anything else, that can be determined through a blood test. So I'm just curious, A, what kind of test do you use for the alcohol test? And B, how frequently, if I was a resident and I'm one that's just come out of recovery, and I've got my job, so how often would I expect, or would you expect for me to be drug tested, say, in a year's time?
Yeah. That would be random testing, probably 3 times a year.
Say it again.
Probably 3 times a year.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm hard of hearing. So. Okay.
Any further questions?
What about on the alcohol? How would you test for
there's a strip.
I mean, obviously,
there's a strip you use.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can use there's a blood test and a strip you use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else for Mr.
Yes, I had a question.
Commissioner Casson.
Yes, Mr. Seitz, thanks for being here. So are the other apartments, are they the same kind of, is it like 80-20, 80 residents, or in the recovery part of it?
They are.
And so you said that permits you have for some coming up are similar to what is out at Paris Plaza in that area?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Do you have any already done that are similar, that are in these residential areas like this that you've put up?
Well, the apartments that we have adjacent to on the Warm campus are within a few feet from residential areas. Okay. I mean, there's a street, there's a fence. We happen to have a privacy fence, but on the other side of that fence is a street of regular housing.
And which location's that?
That's on McKinley Street in Henderson.
Okay. And would you be notified if there was criminal activity that was higher? Do you get some sort of notification or something if the residents are involved in something?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a security system. We have filming. We want to know what's going on. Very seldom have to use that.
And does, if the Henderson Police Department had an issue, do they contact you?
They would call us. They would call us.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have been absolutely wonderful to work with. Law enforcement in Henderson County supports our initiative enthusiastically. They are truly partners. In fact, one of our graduates from the WARM system is the deputy sheriff. She's a woman that went through the program, moved in these apartments. I remember exactly where she lived, in Unit 4 or 5 or whatever it was. And she applied and was hired by the Sheriff's Department and has progressed through that system and now has supervisory responsibility. But she's a woman that came to the Warm Center in a condition of addiction, fought it for a little while, as most people do, as I did, as most people do, and then finally just completely surrendered to the disease. And she's been an amazing image, been an amazing support person for people coming through the program. Highly respected in the community.
If this were to pass in Daviess County, would it still have the same type of system, monitoring systems?
Exactly. Exactly.
And is that something somewhere in the plans that we're going to receive, or is that part of? I don't recall seeing that.
I'm assuming that would be part of the development plan.
It'd be part of the development plan.
Not strictly
Okay.
rezoning.
Thank you.
Am I right,
But
Trey?
we'll just vote on the
Okay.
zoning, right?
Yes, that's
We
all.
will only be
You wanna say
voting on the
something?
zoning, so it won't matter what's in the
go
development
ahead.
plan.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I wanted to step in a moment here with Dale and remind him, because he's got quite a few projects, and make this point. Center for Addiction Recovery does multifamily housing generally as well. They have multiple projects that are multifamily housing in the Henderson area. The preference on this particular project is because of a need. To Dale's point, the people who have graduated and are in active recovery are constantly discriminated against. And it's a fair housing discrimination claim. I believe a gentleman made that point. He pulled it from Google. It is actively a fair housing discrimination claim. Unfortunately, these people are still discriminated against. This project is a need for people like that. Your community here and all across Kentucky. Developers done projects from Paducah all the way over to Middlesboro, Kentucky. It is a problem in the state. This is a need in this area, I promise you.
Okay. Let me. Are you Mr. Elmore?
I'm Mr. Ball,
Legal counsel. Someone that spoke at the first meeting.
That's correct. Anthony Elmore
stated that the intent is to submit for funding with Kentucky Housing Corporation. Is it a requirement that you have the 80% that's in recovery to qualify for Kentucky housing funding?
I would defer to the development team to be 100% certain of this, but I will say generally it's not a requirement. The reason that this preference was made on this particular project, if I recall correctly, is to make it more competitive. Kentucky Housing Corporation is the agency that administers what's called the low-income housing tax credit. It's a credit that makes projects like this possible. Without it, these multifamily housing projects for people, and it doesn't matter if it's substance abuse recovery, elderly, they've done projects all across, they do every single year projects all across the state. In order to even have a chance at some of that funding, you have to check boxes, you have to run the gamut. You have to play the game and get the scoring in order to get a project funded. And without playing that, there's just no way for a project to get funded and happen.
Okay.
I'm sure most of the commissioners know that the cost of building anything right now is just exorbitant. And in order to have any shot of making a project happen, there has to be a combination of multiple funding sources. And the low-income housing tax credit is just about the only way to get something like this funded in this day and age.
So let me ask, with regard to the 80%, and if you get your funding from Kentucky Housing Corp., let's say you can't find, and when I read the transcripts, it says these people will be employed. These people will be paying rent. That's not subsidized rent.
That's right.
And so that seems to be, I guess my question is, let's say you only have 70%, and nobody else is coming. Could any of us up here that's not in recovery?
The answer is yes. Yes,
Okay.
the answer. Preference does not mean a requirement. The preference means that it is the anticipation of the project to put up to 80% of people who are in recovery. But the fact of the matter is, there will be, on most of your projects, you have a wait list. And the reality is if there's a wait list and the person at the wait list is not someone in substance recovery, actively in recovery, then they'll be the next person in the unit.
Okay.
Yeah, and let me make another point. When we built the apartments 16 years ago, we weren't at full capacity with recovering people, but there was a waiting list for other people that wanted residents there, just people from the general public. And there were some elderly people. I'll never forget how one of the elderly women there helped administered to the younger people that were there. So it's during that time, during that 5-year span maybe, I don't recall a problem. I do not recall a problem.
Okay. Commissioner Marksberry, you said you
I
had
have some questions since you're both there, if you don't mind. So who is Mr. Elmore?
Anthony Elmore is Vice President of Walbrook Development Company.
Okay. He stated at the meeting, and it's quoted, that each individual would meet certain requirements, pay all their utilities and rent. So there's no rental assistance on this. But you just said Kentucky Housing Corporation would give tax credits. So there is assistance, it sounds like, to the developers or the...
That's a complicated, I apologize, ma'am, that's a complicated answer. To be clear, there is no Section 8 or fund for subsidized rental assistance on this project. Tax credit is, and I'm going to make this as short as I possibly can.
I know what a tax credit is.
Okay, well...
It just says there's no rental assistance. So the people that are renting, they have jobs when you screen them just like a regular tenant. They have to already have proof of income, which most people would have.
That's the case. Yeah, that is the case. And then we have a segment of within our organization that helps them find employment.
So they get to move in before they have employment? So they would not have a way to pay rent if they don't get a job?
They might have family support. Many times they have family support where a mother or father or someone would pay their rent for a month, 6 weeks, 2 months. And if that is the case, then we help them find employment.
So you have a little leeway for a month or two to make sure they can.
We do.
Okay, I had a few more questions, please.
Go ahead.
So you're based in Henderson?
We are.
And you've been very successful in Henderson?
We've been very fortunate.
My question is, why are you not building more in Henderson?
We are.
Why are you coming to Daviess County?
No, we are building in Henderson. We have 52 units that are ready for construction.
Okay.
But we have a lot of recovering women from Owensboro who complete the program and don't necessarily want to go back to their environments. Not just Owensboro, but many of the inhabitants of our permanent living segment just stay there because we advise them to be careful about going back to your environment. You're probably better off here where you have the support of your sisters, where you have support of the community, where you have support of our organization until you are firmly in recovery. And many of them stay and many of them never leave. But some of them will stay a year, some will stay 2 years. We had a girl I know I talked to moved out the other day, that went back to Paducah, and she said, I've had a wonderful experience here, but it's time I reunite with my family. During that time, her parents took care of her children. And then she's well-grounded, does volunteer work in the community, works on the outside and earns, and also, and once again, is now stable enough, she believes, economically, where she can go back to Paducah in this case. So it's a very common thing, very common thing.
Okay. And then, I forgot your name, sir, I'm sorry.
Cody Duvall.
Cody, sorry. The difference in recovery and transition and this housing is residents share one home, usually, in transitional housing. And they also have a supervisor that lives or checks on them every day in that home.
That's right.
But this will not have that. You will not have people checking on these people, but 3 times a year. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
And we'll do random drug checks.
But
Drug
they're only
tests.
3 times a year,
Maybe more
possibly.
often. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
mean, that's the system, but if there were to be failures that we consider problematic, then we could increase the frequency of those drug tests.
Okay. And the only other thing I'd like to say is I know at the planning and zoning meeting, they specified what they're voting on is, does this property qualify to be moved from one zone to another? And it does, because it's contiguous to other multifamily housing. And so I believe, if I'm right, that's what the court will be voting on. That's all we can vote on. We can't vote on any other issue with this. So I just wanted to make sure that I'm correct in that. Claude, maybe you can help me.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
I mean,
thank
we're
you.
voting on the change in the zoning.
Right.
And whether it qualifies under the zoning statute to fit within that. And the findings of fact are within the ordinance that we read, or that I read, so.
Right, okay. All right, thank you all. That's all I had.
Any other commissioners have any questions?
If I could say one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I can assure you, if this is approved, that this community will be extremely proud of the decision that was made. And I'm totally convinced of that, and would urge those that make the decision to take into account facts, our experience, and the need for this critical housing component. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this was the first reading of this, and so there will be no vote tonight. The next meeting, we will simply come back and vote. There will be no public comment on this item at the next meeting. Next item, Brooke.
B,
Or
other
let
business.
me stop. I'll just say, is there anyone else? I know I've called on everyone to make any statement they wanted to make. Is there a final thing anybody would want to make? I don't. And these are the only people that spoke at the planning and zoning meeting. Did you speak there? You're not allowed to speak then. All right. Next item, Brooke.
B, other business to be brought before the Daviess County Fiscal Court. There is none that I'm aware of.
Okay.
C, public comments.
This is a part of our meeting where we invite the public to come forward, state your name and address for the record. You may speak to any item other than what has been covered on our agenda. If it was on the agenda, you're not to speak to it. Do I have any takers tonight? Again,
Hello,
state your name
guys.
and state
My
your
name's
name.
Mike Hamlet, and I live at 6160 Sutter Loop West. I've been a Daviess County resident 65 years. So basically, I come before you to address the issue about the meetings, about us not getting along together and beating each other with a stick. And that's what it's come to. These public meetings, we all are never going to agree what that sentence means. Everybody has their own opinion. It's just like the Bible. Everybody has their own opinion about that scripture, and that's why we have all these different churches, okay? So, but we all have to protect our children. Our children are our next leaders. They're the leader. They're the future of our community. And to protect, I applaud y'all. Y'all are all sitting in the hot seat and you're putting up with all this controversy about these issues. And you know, when I was in second grade, 60 years ago, I didn't know any gay people. There's only two genders. There wasn't any question about it. I didn't really know anybody that was gay until I got out of high school. So here we are, 60 years later, and people struggle with what bathroom to use. So we've gotten a lot of controversy over this. And basically, the gist I got from the library yesterday at the meeting, and Kathy did a very good job. I thought they were
Sir, I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
We're not talking about the library.
Okay.
We
Okay,
had
so-
a board appointment. We voted on that. That was on the agenda, and I'm going to just stop you. If you want to redirect something else, I'm open to that.
Yes, sir. I'm going to address KRS 531.
Okay.
That, and I'll read it to you. Basically, it's the statute about pornography. And just the bullet points, the first one is definitions, the next one is distribution of obscene matter, the next one is distribution of obscene matter to minors, the next is using minors to distribute obscene material. So my tax dollars for my property taxes are going to that library. They're not going to Brad. I'd like to see them go to the sheriff's department because they need it. But my property taxes are paying for something that I don't agree with, and I'd like to see things changed. So apply the law is all I'm asking to the material in the library. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak to any item that's not been covered on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Jordan Bray. I live at 237 Edward Street, 42301, Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm hearing a lot of talk about protecting children in our community. Completely support that. Why not? Everyone would like to protect kids, no? No one here is for harming kids, right? If we want to protect kids in our community, I don't think the library is somewhere to start so critically. If we want to protect kids in our community, there is a church-funded pedophile house down the street that continuously reforms them and releases them back into our community. I don't know if anyone else here looks at the statistics. The tri-state area sends Owensboro, Kentucky, Daviess County their pedophiles so we can rehabilitate them and then send them back into our community rehabilitated. That's why if you look at the Facebook, Owensboro police scanner, you'll see hundreds of people getting arrested for child sex crimes and given a slap on the wrist. And they're released back into the community daily. If we really want to take the safety of children into consideration, a book isn't going to change it. That house, quote unquote, down there that rehabilitates pedophiles needs to be gone. Those people do not belong in our community. If we're talking safety, those are the offenders. That's it. I feel like that's an issue no one has talked about.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything they want to speak to other than what's been covered on the agenda?
Got Andy over here.
Again, state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Andy. I live at 2920 Yale Place.
Andy who?
Gambling. I'm sorry. I'm very, very concerned about our young people, in fact, our nation. We are in a spiritual warfare. All you got to do, read the Bible, and we are in that right now. It's happening all across our country. What we need prayer. We need to be praying for America. The church down in Nortonville, Kentucky, the River, that's the name of the church. They've been in a revival now for going on 4 or 5 years now. There's a good friend of mine, he's a pastor, Brother Alan Mincer. Him and his wife is over the jail ministry in Hopkins County. I know Art has the, I think, Matthew table, if I'm not mistaken. He has that. I don't know that much about the program, but Brother Allen, he's got a wonderful program at the Hopkins County Jail, Brother Allen Mincer. I would ask that y'all reach out to Allen Mincer and his wife, Miss Kim, and ask them to come over and talk to you about that, because and they have a program on Friday night. You can go online, the river, the church, pull it up, and he has a program called Die to Self. That's what we have to do every day. Even us as Christians, we have to die to this old flesh and then take up the cross and follow him. When we follow Jesus, we'll have our eyes more on him, then we're going to be more in line to do the right things. And I'm going to ask y'all, or anybody in this audience.
Your comments need to be directed
Okay.
to the chair, and that's me.
Okay, I'm sorry. Check out the revival, the Ebenezer revival. Check that out. Started with 2 women. The Ebenezer revival. Check that out. One was crippled, one was blind. They was concerned about our nation. They were concerned about that country. They started praying, and the Lord intervened, and he turned that country around. He can do the same for here. We're in a spiritual warfare. We need to pray. And like I said, check out and get Brother Allen and Miss Kim. Thank you, and God bless y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Candler. Anyone else wish to speak to anything other than what's been covered on the agenda?
D, comments by Daviess County Fiscal Court.
Commissioner Condor.
Pass.
Commissioner Marksberry.
Thank you, Judge. So back to the library. I am going to speak about that for a minute since there's so many people here that are concerned about it. At the meeting last night, they were going over a book. There's requests for reconsideration that people can file if they have an issue with one of the books. And I haven't read most of them. I don't want to read them. But I just happened to pick up Al Mattingly's book. I said, do you mind if I look at this, Al? And he said, sure. So I picked this book up, and it's called Sold. And I was like, okay, you know. So I read the back cover, and I opened it up, and I flipped back maybe 2 or 3 pages, almost at the end of the book. And immediately, it was talking about a little girl that was quivering and scared because someone was abusing them. And I'm not going to say what they were doing to this little girl, but it was horrific, torturous abuse. And she was talking about a little girl in the other room moaning, how she could hear her moaning, and she was just thankful that that wasn't her this time. Now, you guys, this is not about LGBTQ rights. This is not about anything that you try to make it to be sometimes. And I know if you think it's okay to put this in young minds, and people are impressionable as teenagers, they are, and kids can be mean anyway to each other. And if somebody gets that book or any of those books, and they get a new idea how they can torture someone, you know, do you really want that on your, you know, on your heart and on your hands? I mean, I just ask you to please read these books yourself. Please don't just take someone's word for it. All I had to do was flip back 2 or 3 pages, and it was just, I couldn't even tell my husband about it. That's how bad it is. And that's all I'm saying is, you know, if you really dive into this, and it's not about LGBTQ rights, it's not about First Amendment rights, it's about protecting young hearts and innocent minds, because there's no one else to protect them, people. They can't do it themselves. And that's all. I just would ask you all, please. I know you're trying to do what you feel is right in your heart. I know you are. I know you're trying to do what's right. But look at these books. Read the whole thing. And if you have someone that age in your family, I would ask you, would you sit down with that child or young teenager and go over that book and read it with them? Would you sit there? Just ask yourself that question. And if the answer is still yes, then I don't know what else I could say to that, but it's very heavy on my heart, I can tell you that, and a lot of people feel this way, so thank you.
Anything else? Commissioner Castle.
Thanks, Judge. Janie, I'll have to or Commissioner Marksberry will have to get with you and find out the book, because I think the context of whatever's written is always relevant and important too, so we'll check and see. But other than that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody for being here tonight. There's so many different things in our local government that affect everyone, as we see with the different planning and zoning things, the library, the fire department, everything that's gone on. And it's everything that you're involved in or that you're here for is important and relevant to our community. And thanks for being a part of our local government and coming here. Thanks, Judge.
I'll just for my comments, I want to thank everyone. I know our discussions are frustrating sometimes. I know Commissioner Condor, he uses the word for all, that we need to serve all people. And the reality is, when there are issues, and we could make a list of 30 issues probably, that this zoning is one of them, where somebody's going to be happy and somebody won't. And I won't go through a list but there. I want to thank you, all of you who have been here this evening and sit through this long meeting, for your kindness, for your being polite to your neighbors. And I'm going to switch gears and go to my comments here. I want to congratulate a young lady that was highlighted in the Messenger Inquirer, Savannah Bellamy. She's an OHS student, and she scored the highest possible score on the ACT with a score of 36. And I'll just, we call it in the office self-report sometimes when we've crossed the line maybe we shouldn't have, but we didn't get caught. I took the ACT twice, and I'm not sure that if you added my score together that you'd get to 36. So I congratulate that young lady. And the other thing that fascinated me is she took it 3 times. I think this is right. The first 2 times, she got a 35. But she wasn't content. So anyway, I'm impressed with that. Anyway, and Mom and Dad, I'm sure, are very proud. You all know one of the things that's a real frustration to me is the trash across our county. I'd like to thank those who are participating in our Cash for Trash program. Friends of the Daviess County Public Library were one of the recipients of the payout this time. Green River Area Down Syndrome Association. And we have our contractor, Gishlon. This since I reported last time, 1,080 pounds, which is half a ton. Over so far for 2025, we're just under 40 tons of trash has been picked up off our county roadways. And that's just... I guess it's worth applause that it's been picked up, but it's so frustrating that it's there. And folks, we need to talk to one another and our family members and tell them it's just not okay to throw trash out. Anyway, also want to just mention August 31st is International Overdose Awareness Day, which brings awareness to the ongoing opioid crisis to remember those who have been lost to overdose, and encourage action towards prevention and support. And that's all I have. Brooke, we got anything else? All right. Without further business, this meeting is adjourned.